Hello, I'm Drunkard Ninja, and this is my walkthrough of Valkyria Chronicles. In the last episode, we beat Chapter 2, and upon doing that, you unlock the Headquarters tab. So in this video, I'm just going to go through each of the tabs open to you and just kind of explain each facet of them. Alright, so for this video, I'm going to start at the bottom and work my way up because it kind of works out better in general. So we're going to start with the R&D facility. This is where you upgrade your weapons for your units and also your tank. This costs your money, which is the DCT, or DCT, yeah. These are the two guys that make the upgrades for you, and there's a big intro just to get in there for the first time. So not much is going to be available, but we're going to upgrade everything we can. It's laid out in just for each class. Rifles are for your scouts, machine guns are for your shock troopers, anti-tank lances are for your lancers, sniper rifles are for your snipers, obviously, grenades are for your scouts, shock troopers, and engineers. Uniforms are for everyone but the Lancers, and the blast suits are for the Lancers. And then the Edelweiss has its own upgrades as well. So we're just going to start at the top with the rifles. This is the Galleon 1 that we've been using. There's one upgrade available. Looks like it increases the damage a bit versus people, but doesn't do anything for armor. Doesn't increase the range, doesn't increase the accuracy, even though it says accuracy boost. Really all an accuracy boost does is it makes the crosshair smaller, so you just have a smaller field of spray for your bullets. So since it's only 500, I'm going to upgrade that while we're here. Moving along to the shock trooper machine guns, there's a firepower boost. As you can see, it raises the damage by 1. I'm going to upgrade that as well. Next is the anti-tank lances. Again, it's a firepower boost, does a bit more damage to people, and does another 50 damage to armor, which is what we'll use it against primarily anyways. We'll upgrade that. Next we have the sniper rifle. Again, it says an accuracy boost. Really, it's more of a damage boost. As you can see, you get an extra 5 damage to people and armor. Upgrade that. Next we have the grenades. There's not an upgrade available, so we'll skip that. Uniform upgrade. This gives you an extra defense for everyone but your lancers, so we'll upgrade that. And this blast suit upgrade, this is for the lancers. Again, it's a +1 defense. And that's everything in this section. So you have to actually exit this section to go to the Edelweiss. And there's 3 sections for it: body enhancements, tread and other, and attack support. We'll just start with the body enhancements. And right now we can either reinforce the armor, which increases the defense, or we can reinforce the barrel, which gives you farther range. I prefer the range, so we're going to do that. And we might have enough for this, but we're going to look at the other ones first, just in case those upgrades are better. I'm going to hit E. So these treads and others, these are upgrades that take up block sizes. You'll notice this one's a 1x1, and a different page will come up where you affix those, and you have to arrange them so that you can fit all the upgrades you want. In general, you really don't need tread HP, but you do kind of want this radiator upgrade because it gives you a little more armor and some crit defense. So we're going to actually buy that one. And this is where you actually affix it to the tank. So you select it. We only have the one at the time, so this doesn't really matter, but eventually you get longer ones that take up 3 vertical spaces, 4 horizontal, 2, some of them are 2 square, but at the moment they're only 1x1, so we're just going to stick it anywhere and go back. Last one we have is a sight upgrade. This is also a block one. I highly recommend getting this one because it improves your accuracy a little. As you saw in the last level, the accuracy is really bad on the tank at the start, and you really want your shots to hit, because doing a lot of damage means nothing if you can't hit your target. So we're going to upgrade that and put that on there as well. And now we're going to go back here. So we don't actually have enough money for the armor, but we do have it for the spare tread, so let's just buy it while we're here, because we don't have anything else to spend our money on. Okay, and that is the R&D facility for you, and we will now move along to the training fields. Next on the list is the training field. This area you will use your experience points to upgrade your unit classes. There are 5 classes, as you will see. You have your scouts, your shock troopers, which we have seen already, and then you also have lancers, which are your anti-tank units, engineers, which are your tank repair units, and they can also defuse landmines. They can repair things like sandbags that are destroyed, and they also have 3 grenades, where your other units, scouts and shock troopers, only have 1. And then the final unit is sniper, which is obviously a long-range one-shot unit to just do infiltration strikes. So we've currently got 3,110 experience, so I'm just going to upgrade each of these once. Upgrading them gives each class a little more experience, not experience, sorry, a little more health, and at different levels that you upgrade, you unlock potentials and new orders that you can use in combat. I think upgrading a couple of these to level 2 actually gets you something, so we'll probably get something as soon as I say okay. It looks like we got new potentials for the lancers and the snipers. What that is, when I go over in the squad barracks, each unit, each individual has potentials that give them either perks or negative effects in combat that randomly pop up, and they only start with 2 or 3, and you have to unlock them as you go by leveling up the classes. So you are going to want to do them all fairly evenly, but personally I focus mostly on the scouts and shock troopers, as those are the ones I use the most. So I'm actually going to upgrade the scouts all the way to level 3, and as much for the shock troopers as I can, and then we're going to call it good. That didn't unlock any potentials. So now we're just going to leave the training field and head to the command center. I believe he teaches you a new order right away. Yeah, evade boost. So this is a order that you can use on 1 unit, and it just ups their evade, so they have less of a chance of getting hit. You really don't use it that much because it doesn't really do much, to be honest. But when you're going for 100% completion, you do have to get all the orders in order to get that. Moving along, the next location on the list is the command room. This is where you recruit new members for your squad. They're kind of randomly assigned, and there's a few that you have to do specific things in order to get them. So for the 100% completion, there's like 6 or 8 units that you have to do specific things to get them. And the other ones that you get, they're just completely random. So let's see who we got. The captain kind of explains each class, and we'll do that when we get into the squad barracks so I can show you a little better. Okay, so the first time you're in here, it forces you to pick all 17 open slots. You'll notice there's 3 already in your squad. These are the 3 that are just required for the story. Alicia, who you've used, Rosie, who is a shock trooper, and Largo, who is a lancer. Those 3 can never be outside of your squad. Neither can Welkin, but he's not part of this because he's in his tank. He's not really a foot soldier. So your first time through, you do have to pick 17. I prefer the gals in general because a lot of the guys have really annoying voices. So I'm just going to pick a bunch of units to assign them, because you do have to fill up all the slots before it'll actually let you leave this section. The only exception to my females rule is the Lancers, because there's only 2, and their perks are not very good. Actually, Elise is okay, but Yoko sucks and Rosina sucks, so... I recommend always getting Dallas the engineer, because she has a huge crush on Alicia and gets perks like all the time because of it, so... Since Alicia is going to be in every mission, it's good to get units that like Alicia. Okay, so I got 2 slots more left. Let's just do Homer. Let's do like 1 more scout. Let's just do Nancy, whatever. Okay, so that's really all the command center's for, is swapping out your squad. And as I said earlier, after every couple missions, you get new ones, so check in frequently, because if you don't, they won't appear in the squad barracks, so you won't be able to pick them until you go to the command center first. And that is the command room. Next on the list is the squad barracks. Alright, moving along to the squad barracks. This is where you're going to outfit your troops with different weapons. That's pretty much what it's used for, and you can get a rundown of their potentials and who they like. Just briefly touch on that. You can look into them in detail. Maybe I'll do another video specifically on potentials, but for now, just do a quick rundown of each class for you. So the first one's Welkin. He is a scout, but he's mostly your tank commander, and he's just in a tank. But he is unique in this one because of the tank commander. So we're going to start with him. He gets the same weapon as the scout, but he's, again, in the tank, so he doesn't really use it that often. But you do upgrade it with him. You'll notice that the scouts, if you killed that enemy ace in the last level, this was the weapon we earned, and you can equip it on either a scout or an engineer. Personally, I don't like it because, as you can see, the range is half of that of the standard gun, and the accuracy is an E rating, which is a lot worse than the C, so that means its crosshair is much bigger, has a lot less chance to hit. In this game, I prefer accuracy over firepower in general, so I stick with the Galleon for now. I'll go over the other stuff for the other scouts, but the next page over, these are the potentials. You can mouse over them, see what each one does. Welkin only gets 4. These bottom 4 are crossed out because, again, he's the tank commander, so he only gets the 4 that you earn as you progress in the game. This last one here is orders. As you earn orders throughout the game, they'll appear here. And yeah, you can look at each one. It tells you what they do. You use very few of them in the game. There's really only like 6 you really need. And aside from that, you don't really use all the rest. But if you're going for 100% completion, you will need all of the orders in order to get that. So moving along to a scout, we're just going to do Alicia. Again, she's got the same guns. You'll notice that she has a dash under this. A couple of the classes, when you reach level 11, well, all of the classes actually, when you reach level 11, they become elites. So it would be Scout Elite, Shock Trooper Elite, etc. And for those two classes in particular, when they hit Elite, they get a secondary weapon. It'll be a while before we get that, but in the case of the Scout, it's what that's called the Randgreaser, which is a grenade launcher attached to the gun. It's pretty much the same damage as the regular grenade, but you have more range, since the regular grenade has really bad range. You'll also notice that there are likes. Each character likes different individuals in the game, and you can pair them up according to that, and sometimes they get more boosts, but it's really hit or miss and doesn't come up a whole lot and doesn't really impair the game. Like, you don't need to base your whole squadron around that, just because you'll really be using like 3 people, the 3 that you're required to use, pretty much every mission, because they give you the extra movement, or sorry, extra command points to even play the game. So you'll pretty much be using them for the most part. Again, potentials, you can go through each one. These ones unlock throughout the game. These ones unlock through the training field, with the exception of the last one, and I will explain down the road once we get further along how to get that. There is kind of a method to it. Moving along to a Shock Trooper, we're just going to start with Rosie. Shock Troopers have a machine gun. They have shorter range than the Scouts, but they have more bullets. I believe the one we have right here, I believe it has 20 or 25 rounds, each doing 20 damage apiece. But they do have half the range of the Scouts. So these guys you'll mostly be using for running straight at another Scout, because Scouts don't hurt Shock Troopers that much. So they won't take much damage, and then once they're close, they'll just annihilate a Scout. Again, you'll see that there's a dash under this Mag's M1. When the Shock Troopers hit Elite, they get a secondary weapon that is a flamethrower. This is particularly useful when you have enemy hiding behind cover, because it ignores the defense boost for the most part, and hits multiple targets at the same time. So if you have a line of enemies either standing there or behind a sandbag, you can take them all out with one swing. You'll notice Rosie's likes, she likes Largo. He is the other character that you pretty much have to have every level. So it's good that they get along, because she gets a boost a little more often because of that. Shock Troopers also have grenades. Scouts do as well. Pretty much every unit does except the Sniper and the Lancer. And as you'll see later on, the Engineers actually carry 3, while the Scouts and the Shock Troopers only carry 1 at a time, which does regenerate at the start of each turn. But with the Engineers you actually get 3. Just to touch on this for a sec, because Rosie's the first one that has this. Now, with the potentials, there are positive ones and there are negative ones. And here I can show you that Rosie has both. So this Desert Allergy, this is a negative potential. As you can see in the description, when she's in sandy or dusty areas, she'll literally start sneezing, and it causes a slow drain on her health for the entire length of her turn. It's like 1 health every like 2 or 3 seconds or something like that. So you don't, when that happens, you pretty much want to end her turn as soon as possible. But she does have positive ones. This one's strong-willed. When she's being shot at, she'll, when it activates, she'll just take less damage. Basically, it'll be like 1 damage per bullet rather than like 10 or 20 or whatever. Moving along to the Lancers, we're just going to use Largo because he's the first one. Lancers carry a Lancer, which is basically a bazooka. You'll see that it does show versus person damage. You really don't use it against units that often. They pretty much just use these guys to take out tanks, because their accuracy is not that great, and it's really hard to hit an individual with the lance. As you can see, he also likes Rosie, so that's a good combo there, because they get their potentials a little more often. Again, just an example of a negative potential. Largo doesn't like being in cities, so whenever he's in a city, sometimes Child of Nature activates and it lowers his defense, so he takes more damage. But he does have positive ones as well. This one gives him a boost when he's around allies. Okay, moving along. Next on the list is the engineers. We'll just look at Dallas. Again, she's got the same gun as the scouts. All engineers do. And then below that, you'll notice that instead of a dash, it's crossed out. Engineers do not get a secondary weapon. Neither do lancers. I didn't touch on that, but they do get 3 grenades, and they also have what's called the engineer's tool. What this is used for is repairing your tanks. It's also used for defusing landmines, which you'll come across in several missions. And it's also used to repair sandbags that are either destroyed by a grenade or run over by a tank. They can run up and create cover again for you to utilize as you go along. I like using Dallas because she likes Alicia, and you use Alicia every game, so she tends to get boosts more often because Alicia's always there. She also likes Ica, who's my second favorite scout, so she pretty much just boosts every time you use her. Again, she's got some negative ones along with a positive one. She actually has 2 to start with. Same as Rosie, got the desert allergy. She's also, well, really, honestly, she's a lesbian. So she hates men. Whenever she's around men, she gets a reduction in accuracy, but she fancies women. So anytime she's around women, she's got better accuracy. So it works well for me because of my all-woman squad. She tends to have boosts like all the time. And she has some really good ones down the road once we unlock more of her potentials. The last unit class is the sniper. They've got a unique weapon, which is the GSR-1 at the moment. That is a sniper rifle. It has a scope that you can zoom in and out with by using either the mouse wheel or the numpad on the keyboard, using the 8 and the 2. If you're using mouse and keyboard like I am. I don't know what it is on the controller. You'll notice they also don't get a secondary weapon, and they don't have grenades. The Lancers also don't have grenades. All these guys have are their sniper rifle and ragnade to heal themselves. Now the sniper rifle only shoots off 1 shot per turn, and at the start it's not that great because the accuracy is pretty terrible, but it does down the road have a lot of range, and you will utilize it in a couple of levels. Marina specifically, you can see she's a character that doesn't like anyone, and as you'll see with her potentials, she has potentials that kind of go with that. She prefers to be alone. This is actually a negative one. When there's other people around her, she loses some evasion. This is another negative one. Like the desert allergy, this one's pollen, so whenever she's around grass, which is very annoying for a sniper because you typically hide them in grass, and that pops up a lot for her. But she does have night vision. That's a positive one. She can see just as well at night as she can in the day, making it easier for her to spot Imperials for you to kill. So those are the 5 classes, and yeah, that's really about all you can do right now. Go through each of your characters that you get assigned. As I said before, they are random, so we're not going to have the same ones, as you can see. But look at their potentials, look at their likes. Those are really the only 2 things you really need to look at to determine the makeup you want for each mission. I recommend Scouts. Because down the road, once you get all 8 potentials, the reason I like Alicia and Ica so much is their last unlocked potential is called double movement, and Scouts already have the most amount of movement, the longest distance they can go, and whenever that's activated, you get that a second time. So in a lot of missions, you can run clear across the map with one of those 2, and you know, get way down, way advanced in one turn. Like your first turn, you can pretty much beat a level in one turn some of the time. But yeah, just look through all the characters, see who you like, pick who you like, stick with them. It's not really specific. You just need a combination of scouts, a couple shock troopers, at least one lancer, an engineer is not a bad thing, and a sniper if you really feel like it. But I wouldn't recommend it because they have the least amount of movement. That's something I didn't discuss, which I guess I'll go over right now. So scouts, as we've seen, they have the most movement. They have that bar that goes pretty much clear across the bottom of the screen. Shock troopers, they have about half of that, maybe even more, like a third, somewhere in between there. So they can't move nearly as far as a scout, but once they get there, they do a lot more damage. Lancers are kind of in the same boat. They don't move nearly as far, and they're really slow to move because they're carrying that giant bazooka around. So they're just kind of big lumbering hulks of meat that get shot at all the time. Engineers, they're more like scouts. They have about 3/4 of the movement that scouts have, so they can go and get out there and be the support that they are. Run out there real quick, repair your tank, throw up some sandbags, defuse the landmines, whatever. And then snipers, they have about the least amount of movement. It's probably like a third of what scouts have, maybe just slightly more, or quarter, something like that. Like they can't move far at all, and honestly they're not meant to, because really what you want to do when you actually use them is just move them out of cover a little bit, take your shot, and move them back in cover. And you don't really want them near the enemy anyways, because of their sniper rifle. They can't retaliate. And I guess that's another point I didn't bring up before. Retaliation. So whenever a unit is shot at, if the unit that shot them is within their firing range, they will return fire and potentially kill them. We've seen that in the previous levels. 3 of the units do that: the engineer, the shock trooper, and the scout. The only 2 that do not are the sniper, because of the sniper rifle and the limited ammo. They also only have 3 shots, just like the lancer, who has 3 shots and does not retaliate either. So as you go through the game, you'll need to keep track of that. You kind of try and keep your lancers towards the back, your snipers towards the back, and you get your shock troopers and scouts up front to take out any units that try and get to your main squad. So that is the squad barracks, and after this we will move on to the next mission, which I believe is episode 3 at this point. So that's the headquarters tab. We were forced to go into there the very first time. From now on, whenever you go to it, you just push F, go down to the headquarters tab, and say, yes, I want to go in. You noticed probably that there were a couple tabs missing. We only had the 4. As you go through the game, those open up, and I will go over those as the game progresses as well. As we progress, though, you will want to check into the headquarters after each level, so you can spend your experience to upgrade your troops, and also use your money to upgrade your weapons, and check the command center to see if there's any new units for you. But that's not a very brief breakdown, probably about half an hour long, but should get you started while we get ready for the next episode.